much about the French I took, but I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. Don't know much about geography, don't know much trigonometry, don't know much about algebra, don't know what a sliding rule is for, but I do know 1 and 1 is 2. And if this one could be with you, what a wonderful world this would be. Now, I don't claim to be an A student, but I'm trying to be. For maybe by being an A student, baby, I can win your love for me. Don't know much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about a science book, don't know much about the French I took, but I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. La ta 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 ta. History. Biology. Well, la ta 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 ta. French I took. Yeah, but I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
Pitbull Super. You want to go hard like a dog? You want to go hard like a dog, Big Daddy? Not just any dog. Hard like a pit bull. Oh, yeah. Then you need Pitbull Super. Go get yourself some Pitbull Super.
Warning. Not to be used in hotel orgies with your friends. Side effects may include splitting penis or exploding penis, resembling a shotgun blast.
Pitbull Super, you stud. Try it now.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. This is our advice to take the following steps. If exposed, remove from the phone.
Podcast for the curious mind. I don't know what that means.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. This is our advice to take the following steps. If exposed, remove from the phone.
Podcast for the curious mind. I don't know what that means.
Broadcasting live from a German-made microphone high atop the Sioux Nation. I am Jamal here with a very sick, but here to join us, Sunshine, Sunbun, Sunny D. How you doing there? Did you drink too much last night? Is that what happened?
No, I'm just sick and hoarse and all tea. I haven't actually had anything to drink in like 2 days, like alcohol wise.
Oh, I think water and tea is probably an idea, Sunshine. You know. Well, thankfully for this episode, you don't have to worry about talking too much because it's our annual music episode for Phantom Facts, and we got a great little story about Sam Cooke. Have you ever heard of Sam Cooke before?
I actually really like Sam Cooke. Yeah.
You know about Sam Cooke. See, when I first started doing research on this, and I want to, before we get too into it, I want to give a shout out to Mo Facts podcast. He did a episode called "Helping Our People." It was a hip hop, pretty much like a hip hop biography of how hip hop started. And he brought up Sam Cooke, and he talked about how influential this guy was and all the great things he had done for music. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, who the heck is this guy? Because I didn't recognize the name. But when I started playing music, I was like,
Yeah.
I know exactly who this guy is. They played it nonstop on the oldies station when I was growing up.
Right.
I want to play a clip for you. And this is just to show the sphere of influence Sam Cooke had on the music industry. And we're talking like 1950s to today. Look at the type of people this man influenced in the music. I just start off with this just because.
We're so glad to see so many of you lovely people here tonight. We would especially like to welcome all the representatives of Illinois' law enforcement community who have chosen to join us here in the Palace Hotel.
I don't care what you say. Blues Brothers is one of the best musicals ever written in American history.
Yeah. We certainly hope you all enjoy the show. And remember, people, that no matter who you are and what you do to live, thrive, and survive, there's still some things that make us all the same. You, me, them, everybody. Everybody.
Everybody needs somebody. Everybody needs somebody to love. Someone to love. Sweetheart,
He's got a divvy voice. Now, I mean, when you hear this song, even if you don't know the song, I mean, automatically you start bouncing to it, don't you? Say what?
I said that's why blues is the superior music. I love it.
in the morning, when my soul's on fire. Sometimes I feel a little sad inside. When my baby mistreats me, I'll never find a place to hide under you. Oh, yes, I said it. I said it 'cause I can. Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just want.
Another song where you just want to bounce your head to it. You remember when this song came out?
It's been a while.
2011, I think, something like that. Oh,
Jesus, that's when my son was born.
you old fuck.
Wanna lay in my bed. Don't feel like picking up my phone, so leave a message at the tone. 'Cause today I swear I'm not doing anything, nothing at all. Woo-hoo, woo-hoo,
God, I love Bruno Mars.
at all.
What you want, baby, I got you. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for the respect when you get home. Baby, just when you get home, just
Look at those sets back then.
I know, right? It's, how high were they? Like the all white. Are they supposed to be in heaven? You wonder.
the all I can see as an electrician is these lights, and what a bit that must have been to hang.
It's like, especially back in the 70s, right?
And it's such a different approach to a music video back then. You know, like this is Aretha Franklin. You can't see any skin color. You can't see any skin besides her head.
No.
Like there's
Right.
no sex selling here on this video, which probably in Aretha's defense, it's probably a good
Right.
thing.
But look at homie behind her. He's not getting laid either.
The king of pop himself, Michael Jackson. We'll
This
slow
song
down
always
a
makes me
bit.
think of Pulp Fiction.
Say what?
This song makes me think of Pulp Fiction every time.
I think it meant different things for women during that period of time.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. I think the movie was the last thing they were thinking about when this song was playing in the bedroom.
For me personally, I'm saying.
Well, this guy, I mean, everyone knows. Fucking
Otis Redding?
yeah. No, this isn't Otis Redding. This is
No?
Al Green.
Okay.
Yeah, Al Green. You know the come on, baby. Yeah, that come to me voice.
Yeah.
Little Stevie Wonder.
I don't care who you
got the sway.
You got it.
You gotta smile while you're doing it. Here's Otis Redding.
This is one of my favorite songs.
Really?
I'll
crank it.
Oh, yeah.
Watching the ships roll in, and then I watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay.
I think this last one's gonna surprise you here.
Yeah. It's probably a good thing I can't sing, though.
Yeah, it's a good thing none of us can sing. Believe me, I've been singing all week preparing for this episode, and it sounds horrible. Very young Rod Stewart singing Maggie May.
It's late September and I really should be back at school.
Was Maggie May older in this song? Is that what's going on? Has she got him
Oh.
kidnapped for sexual pleasure?
Kinda, I think so.
Music was crazy back then. All for
But I feel I'm being used. Oh, Maggie, I couldn't have tried anymore.
Your girlfriend's
yes. No. So what do all of these singers have in common? And I mean, that's a wide range. We went from Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd. Who was his partner there in that? Belushi?
Jim Belushi.
Jim
Jim
Belushi.
Belushi.
Yep. And then we went from there to Bruno Mars to Michael Jackson. I mean, a whole range of music. What is one thing they all have in common?
They have the ability to get you on your feet, honestly. Like, even with Otis Redding, it's a slower song, but you just can't help yourself, you know?
Yeah.
God, I love that song.
They all hit hard. They all get you. Right. It's something weird about that music that just gets you wanting to stand up and activity involved.
Right. Exactly. Even Maggie May, which Rod looked really weird. I'm not over it yet.
Thank God that hairstyle changed. They have another thing in common, and none of these songs that we just played would have ever happened if there hadn't been a man who was born by a river in a little tent in 1931, and that is the story of Sam Cooke. And his great grandma was a slave in Mississippi. Of course, Civil War happened, and then Jim Crow law went into effect after that. And I don't know if you know too much about the South's history. I think as Americans, we all have a general idea what Jim Crow was like. They had separate water fountains. They had separate entrances to movie theaters. You couldn't walk on certain areas of a sidewalk.
How dare they try to infect us? It's such crap.
Right.
It makes me angry.
There was a story about Sam Cooke later on in his life when he's on a TV show, and they filmed it in New York normally, but I think it was the Dick Clark show, if I remember correctly. But Dick Clark was doing a recording in Atlanta, Georgia, and the show almost didn't go on because Sam Cooke's backup singers were white. Like and that was 1964. I'm talking 1931. 30 years before. 30 years before this, and to have that type of history, to be born in Mississippi, the great grandson of a slave. Now his dad had become a Baptist preacher and had 8 children. Reverend Cooke. And at age 3, he decided, along with, and I had, it shows how bad I am with Black history. I had no clue that in the 30s, there was a mass migration of Black people to go north. And that actually makes sense, because you're going to want to avoid the Jim Crow laws and the type of BS and racism that was going down in the South. So his father proactively decided to take all 8 kids, his wife, and his whole church setup and move it to Chicago.
Okay.
Which is interesting because that's, the basis of the Blues Brothers is in Chicago.
Right.
They grew up in an orphanage in Chicago. So yeah, it is very interesting. And so, and now I've got a couple of clips to and we can pause this as we go along, but I just wanted to sort of give there's a couple of great little documentaries about Sam Cooke growing up. And just, it's easier when you can see it. Now, when you think of, being raised in a church where your father's a reverend and you have to, especially in a Black church, singing is huge, probably more so than I think any white church.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
By far. But I had no clue how entrenched into the culture it was in the Black church. And this is a sort of little interesting clip of what it was like, because what we have in our heads is very different than what was going on in Chicago in the 1940s, 50s.
When Sam admitted that he sang spirituals, his white audience might have pictured a world of kindly preachers and old country churches, as depicted in Hollywood films and in books such as Uncle Tom's Cabin. In fact, the world of gospel that Sam Cooke grew up in was anything but sedate. As the son of a Chicago preacher, Sam spent his Sundays in storefront churches whose congregations would sing until the building shook.
First of all, why wasn't I raised in a church like this?
No kidding. I've always said, and you know me, I'm not much on religion or, stuff like that. But, oh, man, I think it might be a little different if I could have been in there on my feet, having just a blast. It looks like so much fun.
Be praising Jesus all the time. And they're going to go into sort of how they the performances at these church settings went.
It was from this hotbed of urban spirituality that gospel's golden age would spring. By the mid-40s, gospel had become an underground form of show business, existing entirely within the Black community.
Now, this was fascinating to me. Is they were running, they had their own record labels, they had their own publishing companies, they had their own tour circuits. It was if you came out with a banger in the gospel highway, you could make a very decent living just touring the church circuit. So it sort of offset, the white man's thumb on allowing Black music, and you You had some black singers at the time. You had Sammy Davis Jr., which was part of the Rat Pack in Sinatra. So, you had representation there. You had Nat King Cole, who went to the same school as Sam Cooke, graduated a few years earlier than Sam did, but he came from the same school as Sam Cooke. And I thought that was interesting because I didn't know. Do you know much about Nat King Cole?
I really don't. I know his music is great, but isn't he one of the greatest blues guitar players ever? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
Maybe B.B. King.
That's Nat King Cole, B.B. King. I see. But sick brain. Sorry.
Well, Nat King Cole was a crooner. He would, sit there and sing songs. And what was really interesting about him is he had his own sort of SNL show for 5 years. Yeah. Yeah. Out of New York. And he ran, he'd have different artists on to sing songs. It wasn't I guess, an SNL where they were doing funny clips, but they had funny moments within the show. Sammy Davis Jr. would come on and pretend to be Nat King Cole. And, it was just sort of funny. You can go on YouTube and look up little clips of it, but I had no clue that he had that type of influence. Nat King Cole did. I had no clue that, he was on. I just thought he was a musician, singer. I didn't know he was running TV shows and into production and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and that's important too, because if Sam Cooke knew about Nat King Cole, because obviously he did, whenever someone famous comes out of your school, everyone knows about that person. So this plays a part in his early life too.
It had its own network of venues and its own stars.
I love this. This little clip of these guys singing is they give as an example as sort of how black music worked inside these churches when it came to blues and gospel.
At the top of the bill were the quartets. Until well into the 1960s, harmony groups were gospel music's superstars.
I have no clue what he's saying. I have absolutely no clue what that guy is saying. But I tell you what, I'm
not really
crazy.
Sure words.
Gospel quartets, like the Dixie Hummingbirds, were masters at building tension
That makes me
and bringing a
wonder
crowd.
Say what now?
I said I kind of wonder if it's scat, if it's not actual words. I can't remember the guy's name that started that, but it was back around that time, scat music. He would be on stage and it might have been, but he would forget the lyrics and he'd be like, kind of what it sounds like.
Well, and how the music was composed there, and he mentioned that just a second ago, but the whole idea of it was to build this fervor, build it, never give it completion until it's just everyone's in a frenzy, and then you brought it home. It was such an interesting way to communicate, especially in a large group setting.
Climax. Their showmanship, along with the techniques they pioneered, were later borrowed wholesale by groups like the Temptations and the Jackson 5.
You had three parts, essentially. You had the two lead singers often playing off each other. And then behind them would be the backup singers who would take the offbeats, repeat a lyric, repeat a passage. So you started having multiple rhythmic and harmonic elements going on in there, which were ecstasy making. They were incredibly exciting and could drive a congregation just out of the pews and onto the floor.
Now, to all our black friends that watch this show, I apologize because I don't know the in-depth culture of this music, or I did as much research as I could, but I'm still in the end only 33% black. So you gotta pay attention to that.
The sharp-suited gospel quartets were idolized by black children in the inner city.
And one of those people that idolized him, obviously, was Sam Cooke. And, you know, his dad was running a church. This was the type of culture that was in a church at the time. This type of music heavy type of service. They said Sam Cooke would stand out. It would be like on a downtown street where you got all like the business fronts with the glass windows. And his church was part of those business fronts. And so like they would stand in front of the glass window and just like sing and do their music. And then people would come in and, you know, it'd be like it was a whole day. It wasn't like you went there for 2 hours and then you were done and you went about the rest of your Sunday. This was, you planned this out for a couple of weeks. Mom got in her best garb. You know, everyone dressed to the nines, and then they stayed for 10, 12 hours. And it wasn't just a preaching service as like we might imagine it. You know, it was, you know, there was food, you know, they had barbecue and music and sermons as well. You know, it was all intermixed with each other, and it's like a whole gathering pretty much for a day or for a weekend or up to a week. They would have these things, which I mean, it sounds like a blast to me.
You can hear Sam's voice break. You can hear him falter.
What'd you say? Oh, I thought you said something.
Actually, nothing.
One or two places, and yet his ability to communicate in a way that was natural, that was easy, that brought the listener in, that was confidential in a sense, in a way that made each listener feel as if he's singing directly to me. This is something you can't ever teach anybody.
So Sam starts in a children's only choir, and they would sing little gospel songs and so forth. And then he joins a group at 15, and they're pretty much being groomed to take over a position of a very famous band in the black circuit, which was called the Soul Stirrers. And this 4-man group would go on tour. And how they went on tour back then is they would go, it was really sort of revolutionary. Like they would go to South Carolina and they would plan their church visit as soon as the harvest was done. And the whole reason for that is then when you got there, people had money in their pocket, and you could, you know, they would donate that to the church and the revivals, you know, and all that stuff. And then they would go to another area that just had their crop done. And, you know, and so it was sort of a way to make sure that you weren't wasting any time going to a place that was, you know, waiting for their crop to get sold, and you wouldn't make any money off of it. Because no matter how famous these people got, it was still an underground music circuit. You know, it wasn't prime time. You weren't getting deals with Columbia Records or RCA Records. It was still just small town publishing companies that supported the black circuit. And Sam's voice is unlike anyone had heard up to that moment. You know, we heard like it's sort of raspy, you know, that sort of church gospel sound, very raspy and stuff. And here comes this velvet smooth singing voice of Sam Cooke. And these are this is his nephew talking about it. Right,
and that's what he did. His first hit, Jesus Gave Me Water, was the biggest seller the Soul Stirrers had up to that date. And the rest is history. After that, Sam was gone.
Well, on that woman he had pity. She ran back to the city, crying glory, hallelujah, and did his wonders tell. She left my Savior singing. She came back to him bringing.
Joining a group like the Soul Stirrers meant a life of touring, following a circuit known as the Gospel Highway. Although it has now faded into memory, in the 1950s, the Gospel Highway was as exciting a place to be as any in America, and was trodden by quartet groups, numerous gospel divas, and traveling preachers.
Less than water, and it was not. And well, on that woman left for shower.
We were traveling along the Gospel Highway, stopping in little cities and little towns, and sometimes having church in the field. sometimes having church in the church, or sometimes just having church in a tent, with sawdust and cheers. And
you remember, I'm just going to ruin the surprise. The guy that's talking here, Solomon Burke.
Yeah.
He
looks familiar.
Yeah, remember how we talked about songs that would never have happened if it hadn't been for Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke.
Yep. Speaking of a song.
We're so glad to see so many of you lovely people. And remember, people that
He's in the background playing guitar, right?
He wrote this song.
Oh, I was like, is that him in the background there?
I wonder. This sort of does look like him, doesn't it? Solomon Burke wrote this song. Yeah, this is his song.
Everybody needs somebody to love.
This is an old church song that they would play when they started passing the plate around. And the preacher would always be like, you, telling people to come up and donate money. And he put that into the song.
Someone to love. Someone to love. Sweetheart to miss. Sweetheart to miss. Sugar to kiss.
It does make you want to get up and donate some money, don't it?
It does.
Isn't that cool? That's Solomon Burke. That's this guy right here.
People bringing fans and food.
This guy right here wrote that song.
Food and all kinds of things.
These are all Sam Cooke songs that he's singing with the Soul Stirrers.
For all its religious trappings, the Gospel Highway was a form of show business, and the artists' touring schedules were carefully mapped out to maximize their possible earnings.
What set him apart? He had a smooth voice, he had a smooth deliverance. And in those days, most gospel singers had a gruff voice. They were able to get throaty. They would get, oh, Lord.
It sort of sounds like you today, Sunshine.
A little bit, right? A little bit.
Thanks for filling into the role of today's show. I really appreciate the dedication.
You're welcome.
But Sam was always, there was a woman in the Bible days. He was so smooth with it, and he was like an exception.
Sam was very electrifying on stage. He just had a young approach. I remember him singing this song he called Wonderful. And he'd be singing, he said, wonderful, God is so wonderful. And he'd be combing his hair at the same time, looking in the mirror. And I said, nobody would ever do that, So the old school, the old preachers and deacons and stuff was against it.
It's probably like my favorite story of him talking about Sam Cooke. He's singing Wonderful, God, You're So Wonderful, as he's looking into a mirror, combing his hair, singing this song. And it pissed off all the preachers. It pissed them all off. And it was interesting too, because you had Little Richard singing pop music, you had Sammy Davis, you had Nat King Cole. All of these people were considered persona non grata in the Black community.
Persona non grata.
Yeah, not did not want to be brought up. They were considered worshipers of the devil. Because they felt that if you had a beautiful singing voice, it should only be used to praise God. It shouldn't be used for secular reasons.
So this is the original Illuminati? Is that what we're talking about?
It's the original Black Illuminati. I thought that was interesting because,
that is.
Now, I remember hearing stories of the church I grew up in and how 4/4 music was banned from all the songs, because that was considered, the base of rock and roll and devil's music and stuff. So I guess that was sort of like a normal, rock and roll is coming into the picture here in the late 40s, early 50s. This little rebellion spirit that the United States, really has defined its whole musical culture on, was very pushed back against the church, white or black. If you were in the black circuit touring, and they actually had a term for it. It was called crossing over.
I thought that was supposed to be a thing.
Well, that's a good point, because it sort of implies like the death of one thing onto another, doesn't it? Crossing over. That is interesting. Yeah. And that's essentially what it was. If you went to go sign with a regular record label and put your music on the pop charts, you were never coming back to the black circuit. You were banned.
That's a little scary. I can see where that could be a little scary.
Yeah.
What if you don't make it?
What if you don't make it? It's hard to, like, obviously they were making money going on these, but it wasn't real money. It was an underground music circuit, and you were still having to every summer through winter tour all the way down to Florida and then back up to Chicago, and then you'd have to do it all over again. And some artists would decide to try to cross over.
But he was selling out. I mean, the places was jam-packed. It was like you were saying Elvis Presley was coming to perform.
And they said that they would have like these battle of the bands or battle of the quartets, and you saw some of the musical talent there. They never like won those, but the guy said that when Sam would come out with their quartet, the Soul Stirrers, they would notice like all of the women and young boys would just push to the front, and they'd be trying to touch his feet and all this stuff. It was a very different reaction than any other type of singer that was touring with them at that time.
You would think you were in a nightclub because he was good looking. I mean, the guy was a hunk. He was pretty. We loved him. Everybody had a crush on Sam Cooke.
We knew where we couldn't stay, and we knew where we couldn't eat.
No. So this is talking about when they would tour down south with the, and we talked about the Jim Crow law that was going on back then, and the different sleeping conditions, and like they talked about even like filling up fuel. Like it was like a 50-50 shot if someone would give them gas while they were driving. And that's so it's
place you could stop and get something to eat, but you'd have to go in the back. Segregation.
Service station attendants were always a problem.
We stopped a lot of places to buy gas. Sometimes they were servers and sometimes they wouldn't. They look and see who you are, and they judge you by your color.
But the problems of the Gospel Highway were offset by the fact that the singers were treated as royalty by the black communities they visited.
You knew once you crossed the railroad tracks, you were in the black areas, or you could find where you were going without a problem.
If you sang gospel music, you were a saint, whether you lived it or not. You could drink, booze, you could run women, you can chase, you could do everything you wanted to do. But you were okay as long as you stuck to gospel. It is so crazy now that I look at it.
Once again, making a case for my future church.
What? Okay.
I mean, listen, I'll sing gospel songs as long as I can do all the other stuff.
It's fair.
It's fair. Yeah, right? That's what I thought. Thank you, Sunshine.
Lifestyle didn't go with the song.
What about you? What about you? Somebody tell me. What about you? I wanna know.
While the Gospel Highway had few rules, The one indiscretion that would not be tolerated was the singing of secular music.
And that's where we go on to the whole crossover. And I thought I saved this clip because I thought it's just interesting to hear their perspectives on it. Because this crossover term was widely known.
A performer who applied their gospel training to pop was seen as wasting a talent that should only have been used to praise God.
I feel that anything that you're not actually doing for the Lord is on the other side. That's the way I feel about it.
I wouldn't want to gain the world and lose my soul. I want my soul still to go to heaven.
I remember him telling me one afternoon.
Really interesting.
Say what now?
I said that's interesting. He wants his soul to go to heaven, so he's not gonna
sell it to here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I find that an interesting way.
You saw the look on his face. I mean, that was
real.
That's how it is.
He full on believes that. Yeah.
Now, can you imagine being Sam Cooke and, everywhere you go, everyone feels this way? Like, this is not a rare belief. This is, you go to the secular side, you sold your soul to the devil.
I guess.
I guess, like, if we look at it from 2024, it's not that big of a deal to us because there's enough support systems out there for people who aren't, there's more non-religious people than there are religious people. 1950, on the other hand, good luck finding an atheist.
A whole different world.
Whole different world.
Shit, right?
Whole different world.
Yeah, those are facts. I'm like, my freaking cup says cheers. Like,
sponsored. All right. Here we go.
We got to the auditorium quite early, and we sat there on the steps of the auditorium, and he confided in me that he was getting ready to cross over.
I mean, it had to be kept secret. That's how big of a deal it was. Like, this is his childhood friend we're watching talk right now, and he had to go in secret and tell her, hey, I'm thinking about crossing over
to secular music. And I was saying to myself, God, he's going to cross over to secular music. What if he doesn't make it? They're not going to let him come back in. So I'm like, Sam, you better know what you're doing.
I think that's like the most important part of this story of Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 50-50 shot is what he had. And he was never going to be able to come back. His dad's a reverend.
So why does it have to be secular? Why does it have to be like that? Like, why couldn't they look at it as, well, maybe the rest of the world needs to hear his gospel? Maybe he can save everybody.
He wasn't going to sing gospel when he switched over. In
I
fact,
understand.
he created there was a gospel song he sang. I think it was called Lovable. And he went to a record label and under the fake name of Dale Cooke recorded a secular song called Wonderful. And, because he didn't want people to know it was him that was singing it. And he pretty much just changed out the words from God to, it reminded me of when South Park, he was trying to get the platinum album. And so he like takes popular songs and then just creates his own Christian rock band. I don't know if you remember that episode or not, when Cartman creates his own Christian rock band, but it's sort of, I mean,
about his
no. So with Sam Cooke, he takes this religious song and he turns it into a secular song. So it's not about worship. It's just, teenage love type of a deal, which was popular in the 50s. A lot of those doo-wop groups sang stuff like that. But he wasn't.
Crossing over was considered an act of betrayal by many in the gospel community. If he didn't want to alienate his gospel fan base, Sam would need to tread very carefully.
This is you, send me. Darling.
So, Sam Cooke switches over. He asks he comes out with that song Wonderful. Everyone knows it's Sam Cooke singing it. He gets called out on the church circuit that it's him. So he goes to his dad and he asks his dad's permission. And his dad gives him permission to cross over. And so Sam changes his last name from Cooke to Cook with an E added on to it. So his original name is C-O-O-K, but now it's C-O-O-K. And he did that to sort of, it was a new start for him.
A little respect for his dad too, maybe.
Yeah, it's like
considering his dad's a rebel.
And and his father, the fact that he got support from his father, I think is like a huge reason why we get this song.
Send me, I know you send me, darling, you.
Although You Send Me appeared on a small independent label, it was picked up by the influential late-night DJ, Magnificent Montague.
And it's interesting about this is Sam Cooke's dealing with his own crossover and all this stuff musically going on. But there's a record store in LA where the guy, Mr. Dolphin, another black business owner, wants to like get all of the pop songs, under one roof, a huge catalog of music of black singers, and Hollywood would not let him buy a store in Hollywood to make his record store. And so he has to go to South Central. And his whole idea was, well, if I can't go to Hollywood, I'll bring Hollywood to South Central. And when he starts it, he's got a radio station out in front that plays his records, and they advertise all about this record store here. He's got a recording studio in the back for any artists that want to give their, shot at singing. And to give you an idea of like the type of racism that was there, like if any white kids were caught going to this record store, the cops would tell them, hey, if you go down to South Central, you're going to get gang raped. You're going to get robbed. Someone will kill. Like, would try to create these horror stories so kids wouldn't go to South Central to chill with the black kids at a record store. I mean, that just blows my mind that this stuff was going on 60 years ago.
Right. Right. 60 years isn't even that long ago. Like, in all honesty, it's not that fucking long ago.
A bunch of racist motherfuckers back in that day. They said when he came out with this song, the disc jockey Montague's playing at this record store, and they played it like 80 times that night.
Damn.
And it wasn't like they were just playing it. It got requested that much. And so they played that song throughout the night like over 80 times. It was huge.
I called Sam Cooke to come on down. We sat there. We swapped poetry. We played that record over and over again. It became not a record. It became an event.
He played You Send Me through the night. I think he played it 60, 70, 80 times or something like that. When you hear something that fresh, it hits you pretty much like a lightning bolt.
Sam took off with that song. But what made the song so different, they had never heard nobody sing like that. Ever. And it was reaching across the board. They had never heard nobody sound like Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke blows up after this. Obviously, I mean, great voice. I was going to play a couple of songs from Sam Cooke. Any requests from songs that you like from
Honestly,
him?
can't think of a
Say what?
name of a song. I can't think of any names of songs off the top of my head. So
I got a couple I want to share with you. Then I just don't want to be selfish with it, because like there's so many good ones here. This one is sort of funny to me because I remember hearing this all the time, every freaking Valentine's. They would play this song on the oldies station, and now it was funny because I like towards the end I really hated this song, but when I realized it was him that sang it, I re-listened to it, and you know what?
Cupid, draw back your bow and let your arrow go straight to
so many movies.
for me.
Say what?
It's in so many movies. So many
Yes.
movies. So many.
I listened to a great podcast talk about like the production of some of his songs. Now, this song, there's a couple things. When he says, Cupid, draw back your bow, and you hear the arrow fly. You hear that? Is that?
Lover's heart for me, for me. Cupid, please hear my cry and let your arrow fly.
Hear that part?
That's funny. I've never noticed that.
Isn't that the coolest thing? I didn't notice it either till I was re-listening to it.
Arrow fly straight to my lover's heart for me. Now.
Also, if you listen to the song, you sort of hear like the echo. You hear a little bit of it, like almost like he's singing in an empty room. Do you hear that?
I don't mean to bother you, but I'm in distress. There's
You know, a little bit of an echo. Do you hear that?
Yeah, kind of like he's in an opera house of sorts.
So what they did to create that sound at RCA is they had him record the song, sing it, all that stuff. And then they took the recording of him singing and put it in a room that was cone shaped. And they put a speaker in there and replayed the song into the speaker into this empty room and had a mic there to catch the sound. And that's how you get that little bit of echo in the background while he's in that. I thought that was pretty dandy here.
danger of me losing all of my happiness. For I love a girl who doesn't know I exist. And this you can fix. So, Cupid, draw back your bow and let your arrow go straight to my lover's heart for me. Nobody but me. Cupid, please hear my cry.
We'll play a couple more songs just because I'm in a mood for a Sunday after the depressing St. Jude commercial here.
Right. Thanks.
That's not right. I messed that up there. All right, here we go. I lost my mind when I realized he sang this song.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much
biology.
Say what?
This is the one I was thinking of and couldn't spit out.
It's such a great song.
Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took. But I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
And then we've got
I know you send me, darling, you send me, honest you do, honest you.
Bring It On Home to Me. It was fascinating. He was doing a lot of like high school bebop sound, you know.
If you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, oh, bring it to me. Bring your sweet loving. Bring it all close to me. Yeah, 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 yeah. I know I laughed when you left.
This what was so fascinating about Sam Cooke's music is that he immediately appeals to both races. When he comes off with when he comes out with his first song, he plays it for a group of a white audience, and the same reaction to his voice as the black audience. And so it was like the first time. I mean, you had Little Richard, you had Sammy Davis Jr., you had Nat King Cole, who were singing sort of standards. Little Richard was, really gruff and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Obviously not tied at all to the gospel circuit whatsoever. But here you had Sam Cooke come in with this sultry, velvety voice. And he's just killing it. I mean, he crosses over in 57 and he has #1 hits every year. Like, he is not losing. He puts out a song and he wasn't doing like albums. He wasn't doing albums where he was releasing a vinyl. He was just into releasing singles. So he'd release a single, it'd go to #1. He'd release another single, that went to #1. And by the time 1963 comes around, every year, this guy has just been hitting them all out of the ballpark. And not only been hitting them out of the ballpark, but he's a black guy hitting them out of the ballpark, which is...
For it to be a major hit, it had to sell to white people. And it did, to white teenagers. There were certainly people who only sold to black people, right? Sam started off selling to both groups, all groups.
You Send Me sold over 1.5 million copies, sending the record to the top of the American pop charts. The simplest of songs, You Send Me was the perfect showcase for the soaring vocal style that Sam Cooke had spent years perfecting on the gospel highway.
To marry you and take you home.
He wasn't the first black guy to sing pop music. I mean, Billy Eckstine sang pop music, and Johnny Mathis was singing pop music. Sammy Davis Jr. sang pop music. But he brought this soulful gospel quality into pop music. But he brought it in a way that was very acceptable and appealing to a crossover audience.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took. But I do know.
Sam Cooke's visible success sent a message to the gospel singers he had left behind. The world of pop music was there for the taking.
Now, we understand Sam Cooke, great success, immediate crossover success. Every worry that he may have had is immediately quashed with You Send Me when he sells 1.5 million records. And then he just goes on to start killing it at that point. What's interesting, though, is that as he's going along and touring to different areas, we talked about the Dick Clark show where there was like white singers, backup singers in the background, and they wanted to cancel that. Anywhere where they would split the audience, especially down south. So like the blacks would get the top row and the whites got the bottom. He would either not perform at those places, or he would just sing only to the black people with like whites behind him. There was an example one guy gave where it's like on one side it was blacks, one side it was whites, and he was so upset by it that he didn't even pretend what the white people were there. And I mean, same thing happened to Ray Charles. with Georgia on My Mind. You remember the crap he had to put up with there. Too, like, I mean, they had examples of like, Nat King Cole wouldn't move his car, and so he got beat to an inch of his life by the police officers because he wouldn't repark his vehicle. So you have that stuff going on as well as it's such a crazy thing. You just sold 1.5 million records of a song. You're being played throughout the nation, and then you go south, and because your car was parked wrong, you'd get beat to an inch of your life. It didn't matter who you were.
Yeah.
So this is
I would
stuff.
I would like to say it's not because he was black, it's because they were jealous, but I know that's not true.
Yes. Oh no, it was exactly because he was black.
I remember the pastors and deacons were saying, you.
This is him talking.
If you let people know.
Let me see where I was going to go here real quick.
In his a protest song written by a folk singer from Minnesota affected him so
Oh yeah, so you got all this stuff going on down south. You've got the civil rights movement starting to increase with JFK in office, and there's a real belief that civil rights, and these Jim Crow laws and racism in general, real racism that we were experiencing in the 60s is going to come to
wrote about boys meeting girls, teenage parties, and lonely Saturday nights.
Your arrow straight to my lover's heart for me.
But in 1963, a protest song written by a folk singer from Minnesota affected him so powerfully that he brought it into his act.
Can you guess what that song was? A protest song in 1963 that was so powerful that Sam Cooke brought it into his act.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm excited.
Would you like to see?
Yes.
Let me pull it up here real quick. Boop, boop, present, share screen. And this is the song.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? Yes, and how many seas must a white dove see?
You know who this is?
It's Bob Dylan.
It's Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. I hate. I don't understand what you're saying, Bob.
The most important part of this verse is the beginning. Is like, how many roads does a man have to travel before he's called a man? And this is referring to how they would refer to black people as boys.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man?
So they share this song on a bus trip with Sam Cooke. And he's so taken aback that a white guy is writing a song about civil rights. And not only has he written a song, but listen to Sam Cooke.
Oh, he's called man. Tell me, how many seas must the white dove sail before he sleeps in the sand? Tell me, how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? All the answer, my friend, blowing in the wind. The answer, blowing in the wind.
First of all, who knew that Bob Dylan song could sound so amazing?
No, okay, so I gotta put it for the record. It's Bob Dylan's voice. I can't stand it. He made great songs. Can't listen to the man sing.
Well, and Sam Cooke is, I think this is like, he's killing it. And like his face when he sings that first line, like you can tell that like it annoys him. Not just his first line.
called a man.
You're like, yeah, fuckers.
Yeah. His face.
Yeah, fucker's face.
He's all speaking with all that face.
Tell me, how many times must a man look up before he sees the sky? Tell me, how many years must the one man ever before he can hear people cry? What I want to know is, how many deaths will it take till he knows? Too many people have died. Oh, the answer, my friend, blowing in the wind. The answer, blowing in the wind.
Now Sam Cooke hears this song, and he is really taken aback by it. First of all, the fact that a white man would write this song, I think it meant a lot. But it also opened up to him like, hey, we can start singing about songs like this. I don't know. Did you ever hear him sing Chain Gang? You know that song? Have you ever heard the song Chain Gang?
So I Googled some of his songs and I was like, oh my God, Chain Gang. That's such a great song. And then what was the other one? I Can See Clearly Now.
Yep.
Is that
yep.
One?
Yep.
I did not know. That one surprised me actually. I was like, oh. But yeah, Chain Gang, that's a great song.
Well, and he said, should we play Chain Gang? I mean, are you in a rush? I mean,
no.
Okay, let's do some Chain Gang because that's one of my favorite songs. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Cadence with Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen.
No, but
if you ever get a chance to check out that song or check out that movie, you should. It's like one of the greatest movies. It's one of my favorite movies, but they're known for singing. They're known for singing this song while they're marching to their barracks, and it's let me
actually be right back. I'm sorry.
How dare you? We'll play a little of this while you're.
I hear something saying. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. All day long they're saying, That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. All day long they work so hard till the sun is going down. Working on the highways and byways and wearing a frown. You hear them moaning their lives away. Then you hear somebody say, that's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. Can't you hear them saying, I'm going home one of these days. I'm going home, see my woman, whom I love so dear. But meanwhile, I've got to work right here. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang.
Oh. When it comes to,
I apologize.
You're fine. When he came out with that song, that was considered risque. That was considered like, ooh, I'm sort of touching civil rights here, but not really. That's like how carefully you had to tiptoe, and obviously down in the South at this time to get around the slavery laws, they would imprison black people and then put them on a chain gang, and so that's essentially what that song is all about. Is those guys. So you've got a guy here, Sam Cooke. He's been singing these light, fluffy songs, little teenager bebop songs, and all about love and high school and heartbreak and all stuff like that. And then Bob Dylan comes out with "Blowing in the Wind," and Sam Cooke is shown this song, and he goes, "There's got to be a black person that can make a song similar to the same style as Bob Dylan." And he sort of like, he wanted to take that on himself and write that type of a song, but he couldn't really find any inspiration for it until one day he is touring in Mississippi, and he goes to Mississippi. And you got to consider at this time, 7 years in the industry. He's very popular across the nation. He gets pulled over by a cop. The cop wants him to move his vehicle, and he tells him, "I'm a singer, not a pusher. So you can write me a ticket, and I'll pay that. But I'm not gonna do that." And the guy's like, "I've never heard of you." He goes, "Why don't you ask your wife if she's heard of me? Because I guarantee you she has." I mean, the guy was ballsy. Like he was. He was no take it. I mean, he it's
Oh my God.
Why don't you ask your wife? I bet she knows me. To a cop.
Right. A white cop at that. Like
so he goes and he's heading to Mississippi. They've got a hotel book for this gig. And they get there and the guy won't let them check in because he didn't realize they were black. And so they didn't serve black people at that hotel. And so Sam Cooke is just like, I don't know if it's maybe he just sort of forgot where he was, but he doesn't like throw a fit, but they definitely make a stink about it. Like, really, you're gonna, because I'm black, I can't sleep here. Yeah. And so the hotel manager calls the cops on him, and the cops arrest him and throw him in jail. In 1963.
All because he wants to pay somebody money so he can sleep in a bed.
How crazy is that?
It's fucking ludicrous is what it is.
And that becomes the inspiration to, I think, probably one of the greatest civil rights songs of our generation. And we'll go into a little bit afterwards, but I wanted to play the song first so that you know exactly what song we're talking about. So after he gets arrested in Mississippi, and he spends time in the clinger, he comes out with this song, "A Change Is Gonna Come." I don't know if you've heard this song or not, Sunshine, but it comes full circle from where he was born to today.
Okay.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming. I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there've been times that I thought I could last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
And probably one of his.
Got me a little bit. I'm like, oh no.
Are you crying? Are you crying?
I teared up a little bit. I did. There's a couple. Right, that little boy holding the "Don't shoot." I was like, oh, you fucking Christ! Don't do it.
You know, and at this point in his career, Sam Cooke is good friends with Muhammad Ali, with Malcolm X, and with MLK Jr., and with Jim Brown. And those 5 people are all frontline leaders in the civil rights movement at that time.
Did I see Sidney Poitier in there somewhere? I thought I did.
Maybe. But all of these people are, you know, pushing the goalpost to equal rights at this time. And there's a famous movie that just came out in 21 called One Night in Miami, where Muhammad Ali, after a fight, him, Sam Cooke, Malcolm X, and Muhammad Ali all sit in a hotel room and talk about how they can get equal rights and really represent their race to the American government. It's considered like a huge night where these 4 people sit down and plan these things out.
Wouldn't you just love to have been a fly on the wall? I know I would have.
Right? I mean, titans of their industry.
Yeah.
Titans of their industry.
Legit.
And then Sam Cooke goes out and writes this banger of a song, A Change Is Gonna Come. And just to give you an idea of like how huge that song was, when Obama ran, what was his campaign slogan?
Change is gonna come. That checks out. That checks out.
Isn't that interesting? Like 50 years later, it's still like a key phrase in people's minds. That's how powerful that song was. That you would use it to run a political campaign based off of Sam Cooke.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. I like Obama. I don't care what anybody says. I like that guy.
I don't. Not at all.
Oh, I know.
I like Sam Cooke. I think that was well, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So Sam Cooke, now Sam Cooke has made powerful friends. He's got strong alliances. He's a great singer, but he's more than that. So at that time, Sam, you know, the music industry, you know how it worked for 50s and 60s singers. Like they all died broke because they didn't have rights to any of their music. You know, they didn't have rights to anything. Like they pretty much got paid a small royalty fee and then they were screwed for the rest of their lives. Sam Cooke saw this, and I don't know if it's because of his upbringing and working with smaller labels, but he goes out and he makes his own label company and he makes his own publishing company. And by doing that, he owns all the rights to his music. And then in 1962, he turns around and starts his own record company and starts hiring other artists who want to cross over into the secular world, so that it's not as hard for them as it was for previous generations. And so he picks up talent. He's pumping out #1 hits with people he's signed, and he's essentially Motown before Motown was ever a thing.
What was the name of his record company? I'm like,
SAR was that.
It doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Nope, doesn't exist anymore. But I mean, sort of gives you an idea of like how. I mean, he wasn't just some idiot guy that just had a good voice. He had a game plan, and they actually got an interview from Sam Cooke in 1984 or 1964.
Sam Cooke said,
Dick
"Make
Clark
yourself at
show.
home." What year? We're reminiscing today and using the all-time, old-time goodies and all that stuff. What was the first year you recorded You Send Me?
Send Me, Dick, that was in 57.
Previous to 1957, how many records had you made?
I'd made about, I'd made any popular tunes.
You hadn't made any popular songs, but you had been working in another field, had you
That's
not?
right, I was doing spirituals at the time, Dick.
All right, what caused you at that point in your career of 57 to turn to this kind of singing?
My economic situation.
That's a very honest answer. How many songs have you written?
Dick,
I mean, I like this guy. He is.
Yeah, he's pretty down to earth and real.
I don't know, but I've written just about all I've sang.
Which is several hundred?
Well, I can estimate this way. I've been in the business now, Dick, for about 6 years, and I haven't had a song that wasn't a hit, so I was on the charts, I think, from the time I started until now.
This is an amazing record. Now, Sam, most people don't get to do this. What's the answer? Now, here's a man whose career so far is about 6 years old in this field, not counting what went on before. What's the secret?
I think the secret is really observation, Dick.
What do you mean?
Well, if you observe what's going on and try to figure out how people are thinking and determine the times of your time, you can always write something that the people will understand.
All right, now you've solidified your own career as far as the singing and the records go. What do you hope to do in the future? You're doing different things now, aren't you?
Yeah, well, now, Dick, I'm working mostly with other young singers, you know.
Wait a minute. Young singers. Cassius Clay is a young singer. Did you do that?
He actually did a record with Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow.
This association with these greats was very close. Like, I mean, the stuff. This guy had plans. Like, he had his stuff figured out 30 years in advance. What his goals were. No one was doing this in 1963. No artists were doing this. They were just grateful to be on TV. This guy is not only on TV, but he's creating record labels, publishing. He's protecting all his assets.
It is, you know, not the Stand By Me. Yeah. I did the one called Hey Hey, the Gang's All Here. Yeah.
Was it fun?
It's a lot of fun because Cass is a fun guy.
You don't dare to have any just ask.
No arguments, really.
Just ask a few other people that tell you no. You don't dare argue with this cat. That's for sure.
Mean.
No. Are you traveling like you used to?
No, I'm not, Dick. I'm mostly staying home now.
Will you produce and write and so forth?
I'm producing and writing, as I said, for other people.
Now, at this time, a change is going to come. Has not come out. This is February of 64, and he's working on this piece and running the studio at the same time.
What could be the greatest thing in the world that would happen to you if you had your choice?
The greatest thing that happened to me if all the singers I'm connected with had hits.
I will knock on wood and hope the whole thing goes. Sam and I were talking about before. The last time I think I was looking at an old film. It was about 1957 or 58. We'll reminisce a little bit and we'll do some autographs, if you will, all right?
All right, I will, Dick.
We'll join you.
Nice to see you again, too.
Thank you. Sam Cooke, ladies and gentlemen. We'll join you at the...
Sam Cooke had planned not to come out with really any major hits. His goal was to get all of his singers that he signed to get major hits. And meanwhile, he's working on A Change Is Going to Come. And then in December 11th, 1964, this happens. Man, I had such a great little setup there, and then I completely botched it, didn't I? Let's see here. I know, right? I guess it's over here.
I want to say he
story
kind of
was that
was like Taylor Swift.
Say that again.
It's like Taylor Swift, like she's just this tiny little blonde girl that, but she writes, produces, records. Like, I know her music is, your face, stop it.
You were doing
But,
so
like,
good.
No. But when you told me all that, that's what it reminded me of. And I'm like, everybody kind of looked down on her too, because she's just this tiny little blonde girl. It was like, oh, she can't do
They
this.
didn't look
No,
down on
she
her because of how she looked. They looked down on her because she. No, you know what? All right. In all honesty, that is a good comparison, which angers me even more.
Love you. Sorry.
But she was doing poppy songs like that. Here's the thing: the difference between Taylor Swift and Sam Cooke is that Taylor Swift wasn't doing anything to help other artists become great. You know what I mean? Like Sam Cooke was like he knew how hard it was to cross over. He knew you were fucked if you crossed over and didn't succeed. And he was helping these people that needed to make real money, should be making real money, cross over into a popular secular culture. I mean,
right. But he didn't let anybody control what he was doing. And that's what I mean. That's like the big comparison between him and Taylor Swift is she's just this tiny little girl that started out doing country, and she writes all of her songs, produces all of her songs. She, like all the things. She doesn't let anybody control her shit at all. And I have respect for that.
Do you know who gave her start at 14?
I don't.
Toby Keith.
Oh. Red Cup.
Red Solo Cup. All right. So, all right, here we go. December 11th, 1960.
Sam met a lady that night at a bar called Martoni's. From there, went to another club called PJ's after that. And then supposedly Sam took her to a motel against her will.
Mr. Cooke checking into the motel with the young woman into the room, and she goes to the bathroom, she comes out, and then he goes into the bathroom. While he is in the bathroom, she quickly rushes out, grabs her clothes, and inadvertently grabs his clothes. He comes out, he finds her missing. He doesn't have any clothes except a coat. He proceeds to the manager's office and asks where the woman is that he had checked in with. And he's told by the manager, Bertha Franklin, that woman is not there. He leaves, and he comes back, and now she has the door closed. She doesn't want to talk to him anymore. Reportedly, he pushes open the door, kind of breaks the stripping down, comes in and begins to harass her and then physically assault her. While they are struggling and tumbling, she reaches over, grabs the gun, and she shoots him. After she shoots him, and he proclaims, "Lady, you shot me," he still comes after her, whereupon she grabs some kind of a large stick, and it was a large broom handle or something, and she proceeds to beat him until he collapses.
Sam Cooke, 2 weeks before he releases A Change Is Gonna Come on label, goes to a party, has just gotten paid. He's flashing around $5,000 cash with his executive producer and guitarist at a club. All these women have come up to him, want his autograph, and he notices one woman that's not come up to him and is standing at the bar, Eliza Boyer. And he goes up to her, talks to her for a little bit, His friends leave, so he stays at the bar. Now, his alcohol content is twice the legal limit when they check him. So he's very drunk at this point. He goes to meet another friend of his at PJ's, but supposedly missed him by 15 minutes. He then proceeds to take Eliza Boyer and drive her 15 miles out of his way to a motel, the Hacienda Motel, which was a whorehouse motel. You rented by the hour, $3 an hour. And according to Eliza Boyer, he tries to rape her. He rips off her clothes, throws her on the bed. He then proceeds to go use the restroom. And in between the time of him using a restroom, Eliza Boyer grabs her clothes and in the process accidentally grabs all of his clothes and proceeds to run out of the hotel room. Sam Cooke comes out of the bathroom, sees all his clothes are gone except for a trench coat and a shoe. And he goes to the manager's office. She says she hadn't seen her. He then comes back to the manager's office, breaks in, grabs her by her hands and shakes her, asking her where Eliza Boyer went. And then what happens is after he moves away, after she moves away, she grabs a gun, a 22, and as he charges her, she shoots him underneath his arm right here in his armpit, and it goes through both lungs and his heart and kills him. And I'm not for sure if I found the testimony from these girls in the court case, but he says, "Lady, you shot me." She says he then tries to charge her again. She throws the gun, grabs a broom handle, and proceeds to beat him until he collapses and dies. They call the police. The police come. They don't know it's Sam Cooke. They just figure it's another black man. They bag all the evidence, haul his body, and it's not till 4 hours later they realize that it's Sam Cooke that they have with them. And of course, then the phone calls go out and all these things happen. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So he had just gotten paid, and this girl's not paying any attention to him, which intrigues him. So he goes and talks to her, but it makes me wonder, was he really driving? He was so intoxicated. Maybe she was driving. Maybe she took him there. How much of his money was left over after all this shit went down?
So the $5,000 was never recovered.
Oh, what? That makes all the sense.
Now, of course, to the audience of America at that time, they just assumed, well, that's how black people die, and they moved on with their lives. But it was different for people who knew Sam Cooke. First of all, there's a couple things that this turns into a murder mystery, honestly, in my opinion. There's a couple things. First of all, if she's being held against her will, he goes into the motel by himself to check in.
So why didn't she fucking run away?
Who rapes someone and then in the middle of the rape decides to go use the restroom?
It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's really not.
Also, another interesting fact is that when they do look into the woman that shot him, the hotel manager at the time, she has only a 38 registered to her name.
Oh.
But he's shot with a 22.
That's interesting.
Oh, it gets more interesting. Eliza Boyer, the woman that claims she was raped, a month later is picked up on prostitution charges. And then 10 years later is arrested for murdering her boyfriend. The hotel manager was a madame for prostitutes that had serious legal trouble up to that point where she was working. And and well known, she ran prostitution rings. Another crazy thing that was going on at this time was Operation Climax by the FBI, in which they would take whorehouses and insert LSD into the rooms, and the prostitutes were in on this, not the unsuspecting Johns, and so they would induce them with LSD, and then they would record what happened after such a thing. This motel is known for being a whorehouse in LA, not far from UCLA, where Jolly West was working at that time. Now, if you guys don't know anything about Jolly West, I encourage you to listen to some of our older episodes.
You should.
Operation Shaver, JFK, all those have to deal with Jolly West. But if you do know about Jolly West, you do know that this is very, very odd. Also, what's coming out to the music scene in 2 weeks? Oh, a change is going to come.
Yeah. That's wow. Interesting stuff, Batman.
Very interesting stuff. I'm gonna play a little bit more of this. Let's see if I can find the
kids, and they would get up 4 or 5 of them. Sam with his brothers and sisters, and they would all.
Let me see here.
Some are saying the body was moved, that it was done someplace else.
Oh, also, no gunshots recorded by any of the guests. And she claims she fired 3 times.
Will we ever know the truth?
The investigation was concluded swiftly. The trial took place a mere 5 days after the crime.
Now, you remember we talked about like Manchurian Candidate. Have you seen that movie too, Manchurian Candidate?
Not for a long time, but yeah.
I want you to watch the testimony of these 2 women.
I would agree that this hearing was not anywhere near as detailed and probative as it should have been.
After a while, for a couple of seconds, he had pinned me down on the bed and he pulled me up and he pulled my sweater off and he ripped my dress off.
Neither of these ladies, Elisa Boyer or Bertha Franklin, had an attorney.
I started shooting.
Do you notice how dark their glasses are?
Yeah, so people can't tell if they're crying or not. That way they can put a tissue up there and pretend.
I've never seen anyone take a stand and be allowed to keep dark glasses like that on.
Yeah.
And both of them have blacked out glasses.
Do you think it's a little bit more of a conspiracy? So people can't tell if they're lying?
Well, listen to what she says.
When you started shooting?
He wasn't too far. He was at close range.
And how many times did you fire this pistol?
3 times.
I think the shooting was absolutely unnecessary.
And from a legal standpoint, he wasn't armed, so there's no reason to shoot him. But, right. A jury is going, if he was grabbing her and shaking her, a jury's definitely going to take her side on that. They asked Eliza Boyer, 20 years later about this, and she said word for word what she said on the stand. No deviation.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Because you can tell the same story 10 times, and it can be a real story, but you're still gonna fuck it up somewhere, no matter who you are.
Unless
it's a script, unless it's scripted. That's crazy. Well, good for her for remembering her lines 20 years later. She was in the wrong industry.
We're talking about a brainwashing operation that was going on in LA at that time, which they were trying to get things like that. Could you brainwash someone well enough that, at a key word being mentioned, you could just roll off exactly what you've been told to say. And to me, that's I mean, that's what it seems like. And maybe the dark glasses are to prevent flashes of light. Maybe that was a trigger.
No, that's actually a very valid point because those
They're,
dark glasses are dark. Like,
they're
dark.
both of them, and they don't change expression at all through their testimony. It is
No.
stone cold sober.
Right, and the girl that got raped, you'd think that she'd be a little choked up. You know what I mean? Like that's a very traumatic experience. And the other lady, she, he was supposedly grabbing her and shaking her, and he's a big dude. He was tall, So
Well,
I don't know.
it gets even weirder after that when he has an open casket burial. Etta James, you know who she is?
Yeah.
Etta James said that his neck was almost completely dislodged from his shoulders, and his fingers were all shattered and broken.
He didn't just beat him with a broomstick. There was somebody else there. Somebody beat the fuck out of him. And it wasn't her with a broomstick.
No way a broom could have almost decapitated him.
Yeah.
Especially you saw how old she is in this photo.
Right. She had a couple of thugs. In a whorehouse, there's a couple of thugs somewhere. Somebody's got to pimp slap them hoes.
How do we even know this all happened? How do we know he didn't get taken somewhere, executed, and then dropped off at a hooker's hotel where the people are going to stick to the story you tell them to stick to?
Yeah, right.
Because you know what operation they're running, and you guys are all working together. There's a perfect place to dump a body, wrap up. Everyone's cleaned and gone by 3 hours. And it's not until later that people start looking into it. And by then, the evidence, the bullet is never found that he shot with.
Yeah.
His hands are all busted up. His head's almost decapitated.
She shot him. I'm sorry. She shot him in her office, right?
Yes.
Where was the bullet hole from? In the walls and stuff.
Well, and how do you shoot someone underneath their armpit?
Unless, it's like she said, he was supposed to be coming at her like this. So
she got onto his side and then shot down and perfectly killed both lungs and the heart.
She was obviously standing on her desk. And
it was such a good shot, she could shoot both lungs and the heart in one shot. And then proceeded to throw the gun away when he charged her again and then beat him with a broom handle.
But even you said, it said in the autopsy report that killed him. I would assume that if it went through both lungs and his heart, it killed him instantly. You know what I mean? If it went through his heart, there's no way he attacked her again. There's no way.
Well, and if you're going to shoot someone from their armpit, Naomi brings up a good point. Your arm's up like this, right?
Oh.
So are you trying to protect yourself and then the shot comes in through your armpit? Do you have him tied up and you're beating the crap out of him and then he goes to stop the gunshot? This is execution style, if you ask me. Yeah. This is execution style.
Yeah.
And we know how the FBI was operating at this time with the civil rights movement. They were having none of it. They were having none of it. I found a speech by Edgar Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover, on the opening of the Mississippi branch, and of the FBI, and he's giving a speech, and he's like, "We will not tolerate any civil rights. There is no, and this is Mississippi, so of course you know what that means, And so, and then it's 2 weeks later, a change is going to come. Comes out. This huge civil rights movement song. Not only that, but then 2 months after Sam Cooke is killed, Malcolm X is assassinated.
Yeah.
And then
how much longer was it MLK?
You have Muhammad Ali not go to the Vietnam War, and he's put through the ringer. And then you have MLK 4 years later get assassinated, which we know the FBI was involved in that. We know the FBI was involved with that.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Naomi. I think he was murdered. I think 100% this generational talent is one of the biggest murder mysteries in our nation.
Yeah. It's all very valid. That's crazy.
And that's the story of Sam Cooke.
Damn, homie.
I just I felt bad because I had never heard of him. And then I looked up his music, and of course I knew all his songs, and I had no clue. It's really amazing all the stuff he went through.
Yeah. It is quite amazing.
And just not only did he go through all this stuff, but also then he he could have been content just singing. Instead, he wants to help other people. And granted, this guy, he he was human. He divorced his first wife. He's known for, it was common acceptance to sleep around, even though he was married. He had 3 kids. His one son died a year before this in a pool. He had drowned.
Sam Cooke's boy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vincent Cooke.
Oh, that's
sad. And his first wife got killed in a car accident. And so the guy was going through personal issues.
He knew tragedy, that's for sure.
Yeah, and and then just never would have guessed it watching those interviews. He's just always in high spirits, it feels like. The only time you ever see him slightly frown was when he was singing that song Blowing in the Wind. Other than that, the guy is straight smiles the whole time.
Right. I've got something else to say about him supposedly raping that girl. It's been so many years. Why hadn't anybody else come out with that? Why is she he supposedly raped that lady, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, if you do it once, you do it again. It's a thing that you do, especially in that industry.
You're flashing $5,000 and you're going to take this chick to a $3 hooker hotel?
Right?
How many hotels did he pass 15 miles out of his way in LA?
Yeah.
That's not just driving 15 miles. It's, 15 miles in city traffic.
Yeah. In LA.
And in LA. Who has $5,000 in their pocket and is looking to get laid, is going to take the woman they want to lay to the shittiest hotel possible.
Right? Even in the 60s. $5,000 in the 60s. Oh, snap. You were going to party.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's too much wrong with all of it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think we should finish with Sam. Okay. You down for that? All right. Sam Cooke, have a happy weekend, everybody. Oh, the music.
Yeah. I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been true.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. This is our following step. If exposed, remove